Alright, this is a Dell Inspiron 15 7000 series 7547 screen repair. Well, look, okay. Yep. That is a broken screen right there. Alright, power off. Alright, first remove the 10 screws on the bottom plate of the laptop. Just use a small Phillips head bit. Doesn't have to be a fancy kit, just like this. Just a screwdriver. So these screws right here on the bottom ridge, they won't come out all the way. Okay, now that the back plate is removed, we can remove the battery. The battery has 5 screws holding it in. One here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. Alright, that's the last screw of 5. Go ahead and tilt it towards you. And there's a ribbon cable attached. Pop that off. And then put the battery to the side. Alright, next step is to remove this right here and these two here. Just go ahead and pull on this plastic part and then you're good to go. Just make sure you see how the cable is wrapped around the fan. Now that we've detached these cables, the next step is to remove the screws on these braces right here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws holding it in. Now that the screws are removed from these brackets, we can just very delicately tilt this up a tiny bit. And then I should be able to remove. Place that to the side, not going to need that. Cool. Alright, cool. Next step, we're going to go ahead and remove this plastic piece. Just very carefully, you don't want to break it. Awesome. Okay, the next step is to remove this black frame around your screen. For that, I like to use this wedge tool right here. You just get around the edge and pry it off. Just be very gentle because you don't want to crack this wireframe. It's kind of fragile. Once this is complete, go ahead and just put this to the side. Okay, so now that the screen is separated from the body and the frame has been removed, we can see a bunch of screws. So you actually only need to remove 4 screws here. So there's 2 screws in the top right? There's one in the corner. That's actually if you want to remove this whole bracket altogether. We just want these on the inside. So there's one right here that I'm going to go ahead and remove. Put to the side. And then right here there's another one. Again, just the inside screw. One that's closest to the inside, not the outside screw. And then on the bottom, there's a set of screws for the anchors. You don't want to remove those. You want to just remove the screw that's right next to the screen, right here. There's only one on this side. It's not like the top. And another one right here. 4 screws total. So now that we've removed the 4 screws keeping in the screen itself, what we're going to do is slowly pry this forward. And sometimes the top is a little hard to get off. There's just a little bit of glue. You're going to fight that. Once you've pried forward, you want to go backwards. Tilt it back towards you. Because there's a ribbon cable attached to the monitor right here. So the way you want to remove this ribbon cable is by taking the sticker off back towards the ribbon cable and then pulling the ribbon cable right off. And now you can remove your broken screen, put it to the side. It's trash. You can get it recycled. Okay, so now you get your new screen from laptopscreen.com. Go ahead and install it just kind of the reverse way we've uninstalled it. So go ahead, make sure that this ribbon cable is facing the correct way. go ahead and do the reverse of what we did earlier. So we're going to put it in first. Make sure it's in there snug, but be gentle. So go ahead and make sure it's in there nice and snug, and then put this bracket back down. It'll kind of click, and then replace the sticker back onto the new screen. Cool. Now go ahead and tilt the screen forward. Line it up with the screws. And if you see, they give you nice screen protectors so that while we're working on this, if I drop the screwdriver or anything, nothing is going to happen to my screen. But you do want to remove this protective layer, as the sticker says, before we put this frame back on. So the next step is going to be to add the 4 screws that we removed earlier that we're holding on the monitor. So now that we've secured the new screen, our next step is going to be removing this film, which is always super satisfying. Reveal a nice brand new screen. Okay, cool. Now we want to place this back on. I'm just going to use the old resin and clip it back on. Just line it up. I like to start on the bottom here. Alright, so next step, we want to go ahead and pop this piece back on. You see with these little clips right here, you want these to go into the monitor, towards the monitor, and they should just pop right back in. You want to put your computer itself on the edge of the table, or any table. It's easiest this way. Make sure that your hinges are 90 degrees to the laptop itself, or the monitor itself. Go ahead, put the monitor facing the table and place it down very gently because you don't want to drop your screen. Make sure your ribbon cables are in the right spots, you're not pinching anything. And then go ahead and place your screws down. Okay, now that the screws are back in, you can go ahead and close your screen so we can start adding everything back together how it was before. So first thing I like to do is just pop these little cables back in. That's in. Okay, so now go ahead and just pop this ribbon cable back in. Should go in nice and snug. Shouldn't have to force it. Get your battery. Line up the ribbon cable right here. Slide that in. Okay. Pop your 5 screws back in. Alright, cool. So now go ahead, pop the cover back on and replace the screws. 10 screws total, and your laptop is fixed. As you can see, my screen is good as new.